My name's Tom LaForge. I work at the Coca-Cola company. I've been there for 15 years, and right now I'm focused on what I call macro forces and trends.
The things that I'm really noticing, though, is in my lifetime it's been fantastic because I work at a company that has global responsibility. We are in 200 different countries. And imagine if you were doing that job, say, in 1920, and you said, what are the macro trends that are changing all the United States? Well, they wouldn't be the same ones that are changing all of China, and they wouldn't be the same ones that were changing all of Germany. These were very distinct groups. We're now so interconnected that these macro forces are really global. And so the definition I've come up with of macro force is simply this. It has to affect either everybody on the planet or most people on the planet. And there are more of these things today than there have ever been. And the thing about a macro force is it tells you where you're going. It's a vector. We are going into the future.
I'm talking to a research group, and I wanted the research community to know, as I look at how the world is changing by studying the macro forces and trends, it's going to have implications for everybody because the entire world is changing. It's going to have implications for governments, it's going to have implications for companies, but within companies, it's going to have implications for how we manage our brands and how we do our research. So I was really trying to tell them, here's the changes I see in the world. I don't know what the future is going to look like, but I can tell you that your research and your branding and your marketing and how you manage your company's image are all going to be affected.
So once upon a time, brands competed on emotional and functional attributes. Every day, companies made money selling their products based on these functional emotional attributes. And this really was our industry for a long, long time. And researchers had it easy. But one day, category after category was filled with similar products. We actually taught ourselves how to focus in on the best set of solutions. And differentiation went away. Well, you know what? Because of that, large established brands started to lose loyalty. And what's been happening in your category? I know what's been happening in mine, but what's been happening in your category over the last 10, 15 years or so, maybe less, is that these small new entrants are coming in to your category. So instead of buying Nestea and Lipton, we have these brands like Honest Tea, teas that come with a proposition about a better way to live our lives. Emotional, yeah, it's there, but there's also this social component. How should we as a society live? Or an environmental message, which really is a social message anyway. It's saying, how should we relate to our environment?
One of the areas of research that I'm fascinated with right now is I've been asking myself, when do you believe that this brand has the social qualities that I am going to align with? I believe in this brand because the world that they're creating through their social positioning is exactly aligned with my lifestyle. The classic examples would be things like Whole Foods. It's a way of relating to foods. I believe that we should all be organic, local, fresh, and I'm going to reject sort of the other ways of making and providing food.
Think about this one. One of the key points that you heard earlier in that previous presentation is about the network effect. We all in this room really, really need to understand this very, very deeply because the rules of behaving in a network are different than the rules that we've been behaving by. We are all so interconnected that we have to start asking ourselves, what are the survival strategies that make us more valued to society in an interconnected world?
Why do most corporations have a research department? They say to help us make better decisions. Oh, how are we going to do that? We're going to get some data. And the data tends to be, prove it to me. And when people start asking for proof like that, we tend to resort to, can we validate it? And is it projectable? And so we get very number-oriented. The things that I'm talking about are very difficult to quantify. The things that you sense with your attunement are not showing up on the driver's analysis with taste great, less filling, is refreshing. Those things that are more easily measured have dominated the direction we've been giving senior management. So we focused in on those things quite a lot.
When you are hiring researchers, one of the things that should be thought about is, I got two brilliant people. They both got their MMR degrees from the same school. But what is their network that they bring with them? Which one has more friends that they can call on when, boy, they're dealing with an issue they don't know what to do? Maybe they've got an alumni association, or they're just more well-read. One has a blog with 1,000 readers on it. These networks become part of your extended self, your value proposition to your company.
In the last 20, 30 years where we've computerized a lot of things, we're finding that the people who are really good at those analytical skills are now abundant because you give a laptop to a person, teach them how to run SPSS, or you reach them even Excel, and they're pretty good at that. So the question becomes, how do you distinguish yourself in that area? And then it becomes more the human skills. What the computer can't do, you'd better be able to do.
If we reinvent the brand architectures, what we end up doing is we end up enhancing the well-being of society. Why do you want to do that? Because that allows your corporation to have a thriving relationship in this new interconnected world, which is important because what that buys you is this social license to operate. You need a social license to operate for one reason, because everybody in your senior leadership is saying, we're going to grow, we're going to get bigger, and you don't have permission to be big unless you're seen as helping society. And this is the pathway to do it.
The world is going to change, and it's going to affect all parts of every organization, and it just takes the time to figure out what the changes are and to sit down and think with that information and ask myself, what will people's response be? And how can we make sure that our response is aligned with them? And not just as researchers, but as a company, we are attuned to how society is changing.